Are you tired of you losing your ranked games because you don't know what Pokemon to play? It feels like the other enemy's Pokemon are really powerful and yours aren't the strongest. You tired of your teammates not really picking strong Pokemon and leaving you to carry everything with your favorite Blastoise that doesn't do too much damage? Well, this video is for you. My name is Sulu. My job here is to make learning Pokemon Unite nice and easy and simple and fun at the same time. So what my goal is here today is to go through 5 or actually 7 or 8 in this case of the best Pokemon you can play in ranked today for all the different roles, and sort of explaining how they can be played alongside some gameplay footage that you can watch. Now if this sounds interesting, I'd love for you to slam the subscribe button, leave a comment, leave a like, and let's continue watching together. So now that we've sort of gotten into it, we have to define what is the best Pokemon and sort of how the roles operate. So if you're going to play Central Area, you want Pokemon that can do objectives and take down Pokemon. If you're going to play in either one of the lanes without XP share, which we'll get into in a second, without XP share, you want to also do a similar thing. You want to be able to take Pokemon down quickly, and you want to be able to provide some sort of disruption, so which is stuns and silences, any of the sort, and as well as provide pressure into doing those objectives too. And if you're one of the XP share characters, which every lane should have an XP share character except the Central, if you're an XP share character, your role is going to be to have lots of stuns and, generally be a little bit bulky with the ability to help out your own team and disrupt the enemy team quite a bit. So those are the general ideas of like what we're expecting from in the roles. And then, obviously having a lot of damage is very good. Being able to do objectives is really good. And being able to like zone out enemies is also really nice. But those are how I'd like to categorize what makes the best Pokemon. So getting to the meat and bones of it, let's talk about the Pokemon that really will succeed and how we sort of play them. So right now, in this current meta of Season 27, I think Raichu is one of the best Pokemon you can play in the Central Area. This is really powerful for many reasons, but it has a lot of mobility. Its Unite move does a lot of damage in big team fights. Its abilities, its auto attack passive, allows it to have bounce attacks, and alongside moving during those bounce attacks. So you do immense amounts of damage very quickly to the whole enemy team. Very, very good. So we're talking about, being able to do objectives, being quick and mobile, and also having a lot of damage. S tier character, very easy to win games. I'm now going to go into a little bit of a description of how we can play it, and I'm going to show you a map on the screen, and we're going to go and sort of describe, like what maybe the first few minutes might look like, and how to optimize where you stand and what your goals are in the game. So as you might be able to see now, so Raichu is going to want to start in the Central Area. You can do in any one of your clears. You can also play in the bottom lane without XP share. I'd say those are the best lanes for Raichu. You can even play XP share support Raichu. Not recommended. It's way better as a damage dealer. Anyway, I would do this sort of clear, just a U clear. I've talked about in my other jungling video, like how to do the jungle correctly. You can do it in any sort of which way you want, as long as you do it quickly and get into one of the lanes. First gank is pretty simple. You're going to look to auto attack harass. Make sure you're wary of assassins. Those are the characters that do well against you. Assassins being like talonflame, Zeraora. They aren't in amazing variety right now, but there are still quite a few of them. So do keep in mind of those Pokemon and how much damage and threat they can have against you. So that's pretty much like the start of the game. Now, talking about how you want to play team fights as this Pokemon, I like to think it pretty simple. Let's just use Mew as an example of like a Raichu. Raichu in this case is going to be wanting to like hold these sort of flanks. When you get into the big team fight, I like to skirt around the flanks, which could be like around this area, or maybe it could even be at the top or behind the team. This is a back to front playstyle where you could do something like that. However, you have to be very careful of like your enemy assassins coming in from these angles. They're really going to be trying to focus to take you down in that way. Now, that just means that you have an opportunity that if the assassin's sprinting into you and the enemy team is like running away this way, you can just keep chasing the enemy team and dealing damage, as long as they don't pinch you up together. So sticking with your teammates is actually really important as a character, even if they might not be helping you out. Using them as sort of a shield, a main body shield, can really help out how you actually perform on this kind of character. So those are my main tips for Raichu. Now, let's look at a different character that I think is really succeeding right now, and that really has a strong ability to impact games, and that's Serena. I think Serena is actually really underlooked just because of how much impact it has right now. It might be a little bit weaker in the early game, so it definitely starts off as a little Bonobet or whatever it's called. But yeah, basically it starts off as a little apple, and as it evolves and becomes stronger and stronger, with being Serena level 7, very, very powerful, actually level 6, and getting access to all the bonuses moves with the Queenly Majesty. So something I like to do and like to think about is Serena's going to stack. It's going to get really strong with the new items as well. And it's also going to disrupt a lot of these characters, like a Raichu, like characters that do lots of range damage. Serena can quickly jump on the backline and has enough lifesteal to continually keep in the fight and keep dealing DPS and being effective. So Serena's really powerful in that aspect. When we talk about like why it's good right now, it's all because just talking about Raichu and I think Inteleon are probably my two favorite range characters right now. And the rest of the cast, while Serena doesn't like getting stunned, and stuns are really, really important right now, Serena has a huge capability of just shutting out opponents from the game, and also does objectives very quickly. Like being able to control one of the lanes by yourself and not really be, anyone to match you correctly if you're playing it well is going to be a very big threat, and it's a really great Pokemon to learn and master for that reason. And now talking about another central Pokemon, but just before I do actually, going into Serena's like sort of idea, just taking Serena here, you're going to run to the top lane. That's nearly every single time you want to play it. I'd say 80% of games in top, and maybe 20% of games in the bottom lane. And the reason because of this is like, well, top is generally going to be getting the first gank. It's generally where you put your all-rounders, but you can also put it down in bot lane sometimes. Maybe you have an easier lane there, or whatever you want to do, it'll work out, but it's generally a lane. I wouldn't really jungle this Pokemon. Taking to the next idea, you want to play for your early levels. Don't really play aggressive. You're going to get destroyed in early fights. You just want to get as many levels as you can, as quickly as you can, and sort of peace off and be nice and calm until you hit that level 6 and start pushing the boundaries of what you can do. So that's definitely one way to look at things and really become very powerful with Serena. Like getting level 6, getting that power spike, getting some attack weight stacks, and then roaming the map. Once you're level 6, I encourage you, like the push mechanics to the limit, go test a little bit how much enemies you can take and what your combos look like. This is a Pokemon that really scales with how much you play it and how much you get used to it, but it is very powerful. Generally a top laner, you're going to want to play the Rayquaza fights, just talking about that little concept there. Rayquaza is like, you might want to be hiding in this area, you might want to be hiding in this area, and you're looping into the enemy team this way. Very rarely do you just want to straight off sprint in. You can eat a lot of ranged abilities if you do that, but honestly, you can do that as well. It is a bit riskier, but that's pretty much how I would take on Serena. Now, thinking about the next sort of set of Pokemon, Ceruledge is one that I really like right now in the central area as well. Ceruledge being good for, I think, a unique amount of reasons. I really like Ceruledge for the simple fact that Ceruledge has a great Unite move which can be used to secure objectives, it can be used to one-shot backline squishies, and it also has a lot of mobility and a lot of damage. As I said, these are key factors that we love in Pokemon for ranked. When you have a lot of damage and when you have a lot of mobility, you're going to do very, very, very well. So Ceruledge is dealing a lot of DPS right now. I think like when you land, I prefer playing Psycho Cut and Flame Charge. You can also play Psycho Cut and the little the Void move, but whatever you do, the main goal of Ceruledge is like, hunting the right targets, building your passive stacks on the enemy, and then, making sure you don't get caught into the longest fights. You do okay in long fights, but you want to, you can get very quick fights if you play it correctly in Ceruledge and have a huge impact. The items are also really good for it. Once again, when we talk about the clears for Ceruledge, this is just as an example because we're lacking in the map. But you can also do another U clear. You could even do a C clear, which is the opposite way. I nearly always would gank top lane. At level 5, you want to use your Psycho Cut on the bees when they spawn. Well, I call the bees the Swablues, right? But the Swablues and Alterius will spawn. Use the Psycho Cut when the enemies run in. You should get half of them, and you should probably half health an enemy there. And sometimes you can even find a kill. You are kind of weak at the start, so don't forget that, and play around that idea that you are going to be a bit weaker at that very start of the game. But you still have huge potential. Your Unite move, it is the bread and butter of this hero. When you're hitting Unite move over and over again on weak squishies, you're going to be doing a lot of DPS, and you're going to be really hurting the opponents. That's definitely one key aspect of this Pokemon that you can't really mess up. You have to hit those Unite moves and be impactful that way. Because if you don't hit Unite moves, you're not going to have anywhere near the pressure that is needed from you to actually perform in the game Pokemon Unite. So those are just generally the main reasons that we're working with, like why Ceruledge is really good. We're going to be doing a lot of damage to objectives, really great secure, which is another whole aspect of winning in ranked. But then you also have a lot of ability to engage, start fights in your own things. You're not a true 1v5, but if everyone's really low, you could 1v5, and it's always really great to think about. So now talking about an XP share character, we don't have it here on my little map, but I'm going to talk about it like this, just Darkrai. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but there's a lot of Japanese players innovating Darkrai's experience share, and it's sort of reached over to the other regions, something that wasn't in the game when I was still playing a lot. And now that I've returned a little bit and I'm seeing so much of Darkrai XP share, I find it very fascinating, very powerful. reason I love this character in this role is, one, you still do a lot of damage, two, you have a lot of 1v1 potential, but you do so much CC, and it's so beneficial to your teammates. It's not the stuns that, if they get hit once, they wake up. Like, this is actually a deep level stun when you do sleep. Like, sleep OP, really great at helping out teammates, and really great at stopping engages, stopping fights, and even helping your teammates survive and live. So it's a support in different kind. It is that speedster, but running XP share, going top lane, going bot lane, getting some levels, hitting level 5. I like Dark Void and the Dash. I think those two are the best ones if you're gonna do it in the supporter side. You could do Void, the whole ability, but the issue with Void Pulse is that it can be a bit hard to actually get a full impact. You really just want to be able to throw out Dark Void and constantly be trying to sleep people with that ability, because that's going to give you the most impact when you actually play the game as a support. Like, as much as you'd love to do damage, your job is really to stun players and really annoy them. So I'll just go over some of the laning tricks that you might want to do. If you're going to want to run top lane, you could run bot lane. Once again, just similar to Serena, 80% of the time you want to be top lane. You want to use your early levels, use the sleep to help secure the farm with your friends. So sleep the enemy and then let your teammate go for the farm. Otherwise, if you're feeling a little bit risky, go drop everything on the farm and try to get the farm that way. But other than that, sleeping the enemy is a really great way to get a lot of farm in the lane and really help your team get set up. Remember, it's all about your stuns, your utility, your support. When you're looking about your level 9, I think a very key factor for you to consider if you're playing this character is making sure you got the right enemy hero in the Dark Void or in the sleep. Because if you use your Unite move and you don't get the right hero, like let's just say you get a support, it's a really bad Unite move. You're going to get the most value when you're able to put to sleep a very valuable Pokemon on the enemy team. That is going to really cause them a lot of pain. We're talking about hyper carries that can't beat you in 1v1s. Things like we're saying Raichu and Inteleon, that if they get put to sleep, they might not be able to win that 1v1. And two, all their damage is missing from the fight. There's nowhere to run. Like, as a support, if you were able to take them down and also take them out of the fight immediately, in the sense that they can't do damage to your teammates, it can be very impactful and very valuable to your team. So that's definitely why Darkrai support, I really like it right now, and I think it's very, very clever in that way as to how it functions as a Pokemon. Now, looking next and talking about characters that we can play in the tank role now, and the other role as an XP share, it's Mamoswine. I really like Mamoswine. Really good. As I said, talking about characters that are going to disrupt a lot and be a very big menace in the game right now, Mamoswine is literally up the alley. It does the exact same thing as Darkrai. Lots of stuns, lots of ability to do it. It's a bit slower to get that big Mamoswine, but you are one of, with Ice Fang, you have one of the best displacement tools in the game. One, you stun the enemy, then you move them to where you want. Hitting this ability consistently is going to give you so much potential to do great things. It's an amazing move and very, very powerful. So I really like it in the concept that you're able to help your team get closer to kills and even gift them kills if you can. So I think in that idea, Mamoswine really fulfills everything you want from a tank in the game. It's very aggressive, it's very fun to play as well. If you haven't played Mamoswine and you need to play a tank, this is one of the characters that are going to give you a lot of fun. You are a bit weaker in the early game. You do a lot of damage, but don't let that bait you. Try to get your level 9, don't play too aggressive. But if you have a good team and they're being aggressive and they're pushing up into the enemy team, make sure to make use of the stuns, make sure to stun and take down the enemy with the appropriate moves. Because it is going to help you in the overall aspect of playing Pokemon Unite. I'm going to go over just some of the laning patterns. You nearly always want to go bot lane. You could also potentially play XP share in top lane as well with this, or even non-XP share, because it's so interesting as a Pokemon. But yeah, you're going to want to play your lane. Be nice and safe. Remember, just similar to Darkrai, you can stun the opponent. If you can do stunning the opponent plus hitting the farm, that's also really nice. But your main goal is to get out of that Swine Up stage, get into Piloswine, get into your stronger abilities like Ice Fang, and then play around with your teammates. Getting to the early, the mid birds or the Altarias is really important, because what you can do is you can wait in a bush like this, and the enemy jungler just walks up like that, then you can joink them in, push them to your team, and voila, that's a free kill. Once again, at Rayquaza, please play carefully with your health bar. You're not going to really get heals in ranked, but what you're going to be looking to do is look to team up with one of your teammates. And none of your teammates are trying to help. Look to make your own pick off onto these squishy characters, which can usually be happening on the back line. So once we hide here and people are going to run around this way, they're going to run around this way, you can actually use an eject trick to get into this bush. You can use an eject trick to get into all the way over here. So you can get quite a long distance with Mamoswine. You can even get from here to here with one eject, with the dash and eject. And that means that like there's lots of ways for you to actually impact the game, grabbing an enemy, giving them a good stun, and then really hurting them on their way. So right, now that we've done talking about Mamoswine, another Pokemon I really like right now is Psyduck. Guys, this character has terrorized every player probably over the last few months. Psyduck is insane. I think way too strong. The ability to pull people with Psychic now is just way too good. Even though the last move I found it way more annoying, the Psychic is definitely still too strong. Surf with so much CC. Once again, you're not going to be doing much in the form of damage, with very little the chance to, like, you know, get objectives, or very little chance to start objectives, but you are going to do everything in terms of setting up your team and getting them in the perfect position to actually capitalize and get ahead, so you can win that game off the back of basically setting everything up. You are going to be playing supporter in this role. As I said, once again, the Psyduck's immense CC, it doesn't help the team through heals and buffs, but you are going to be playing a supporter role. You're going to be going to the top lane, and you're going to be making sure you have a huge impact that way. You do have a decent lane phase. It is not the strongest, but it's good enough. It's just about making sure you play to your levels correctly, and then making sure you have a huge impact with your surfs and psychic pulls late game. I think it's a pretty simple character to understand. To start a game, as I said, when you run top lane with the XP share, you don't want to be too aggressive. You're not the greatest at the start comparatively to some other characters like maybe Hoopa and Eldegoss, but you are still pretty good, and you are ranged, which is very important to consider. You do have a lot of potential to annoy them, so keep that in mind, but don't play like you're invincible or you're going to guarantee get kills. Now, later in the game, that's when you really come online. You really thrive at disrupting and grabbing the squishies from the backline and pulling them forward and shutting them down. That's something that you really want to focus on, grabbing the weaker characters like Cinderaces and Greninjas that are running around, and then pulling them into your team for easy kills, and then, you know, try to ping the objective and get that done that way. So that's how I would take on Psyduck and why it's so strong. So talking about another character here, it's Inteleon. I think Inteleon very valuable right now for many different reasons, but Inteleon is very valuable mainly because its snipe shot damage is insane, and as we're talking about, lots of stuns in the game again, and speedsters being significantly nerfed in the last patch. We're gonna look at this character as like in a whole new light. Its ability to get taken down has reduced quite a bit. Obviously not zero anymore. There's still lots of strong characters around, but it is a lot better than it was in the past, and it has a lot more potential to really put a lot of pressure on the enemy backline and the enemy frontline too, getting huge snipes and hitting them down. So obviously the moveset we're talking about is a sniping moveset. That's going to set you up for the most success. By sniping the enemy frontline, you're going to open up the backline, and sometimes you can even hit the backline, which stops all the damage coming through to your team, and they can overwhelm them. You also, as I said, have an amazing secure. You have general damage to your Unite move. This character is overtuned in that aspect. It does a bit of everything. It's good short range damage, good long range damage. The only thing it doesn't have is health bar, and it has a decent mobility move. So when we look at Inteleon, you're gonna probably play it in bot lane. You can play it in central as well sometimes. I would even wager that you can probably play this as a support too every so often, but I wouldn't really say that would be the key aspect. I would play it more as a bot laner most of the time. Once again, your lane phase is really good, so just contest the farm, making sure that you practice your secure ranges, and then after you hit level 7, that's when the fun begins. The sniping happens, your 360 no-scopes, boom boom, you have very big impact that way. You're going to see yourself do quite a bit to the enemy team, and also have lots of great spacing. Don't get overzealous, make sure you try to land your snipes, but don't get like too crazy and just face tank them. I've done it before, and you pay the price very quickly, especially with some of the characters that only need a little bit more distance on you, and then they can take you down. Just try to play to your range, try to be very smart about it, because your big chunks are going to be opening up everything for your teammates. So that's pretty much how I play Intel. Now, just going over some of the things we do with Rayquaza, we'll probably grab a similar character to Pidgeot. They operate similar roles. You're probably going to want to hide here. Be careful of walking into this area. This is probably where I see Inteleon's die the most. Whereas instead of this, like where Desi is right now, that's sort of a safer area, but once you start running up here to snipe into this area and this area, that's when Intels start to get caught down from the push from topside. So if you're scared of the push from topside, obviously hugging the bottom wall or staying close to the bottom path is more beneficial for you. Just all things to think about when you're playing this character, little positioning details that can give you a huge amount of value and hit big game-changing snipes. Alright, okay, moving into the final one. One of the most powerful, really. If Suicune is not getting banned in your game, you should pick it, even if it's damage or XP share. But I think XP share Suicune is probably better, but damage Suicune is just as insane. It just got nerfed. That's the craziest part. I think Suicune is one of the most difficult Pokemon to play against. Its ability to control the game with its stuns, which basically means that if they get hit with a water move from Suicune and you get hit with an ice move after, it'll freeze you. That freeze lasts a little bit too long in my opinion. And not only that, if you get then put to below 10% health, you will then be in range for execution. So it's very scary. You need to think about this Pokemon as it's very powerful, very, very, very clever in how it positions itself. It does get outranged, but when we're talking at a meta where a lot of the Pokemon are brawlers and that you're going to be playing brawlers against brawlers, you know, these Serenas against Serenas and Aegis Slashes, and maybe the only range threats are Inteleon and Raichu, you're going to be looking in a world where Suicune gets insane amounts of value by just putting these stuns onto these characters that don't want to get stunned and then hurting them a lot with damage moves that just really have unlimited variability. So definitely something to think about. You definitely want to play, I think Suicune can play both support roles. You can play as a pure support or you can play as a tank support. And you can even play as a damage role in the top lane or the bot lane. I wouldn't jungle this character. That's the only thing I wouldn't do. But you're going to run Whirlpool. You're going to run Ice Beam. Those moves I think are the best ones by far. That's definitely like what you want to do. On that concept as well, Suicune is really strong because of its area control. I was just speaking again, like when we look at this pit area, helping out for Rayquaza, Suicune can solo control this entire area with just one Whirlpool and an Ice Beam, threatening. And you can do the same thing in the top side. You can do the same thing for these corners as well. With the Unite move being a separate stun as well, like you can combo this stun together, makes it almost impossible for Pokemon to charge at you. And when Pokemon don't have a good time charging in, your ranged characters like your Raichu and Inteleon are going to have a great game. So that was pretty much it, guys. That was my top 8 Pokemon right now for this current season, and you know, best Pokemon to play in rank depending on what role you're playing. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's my first one in a while, but I'll be releasing more and more videos as we go. I'm really interested in, you know, helping out the community again and just helping you all get a little bit better at the game and, you know, enjoying some games myself. All right, guys, I'll see you all in the next one.